Hey there, I'm Gina. I am currently 35 years old and pregnant. I'm on maternity leave, so I am a housewife at the moment. My husband Keith is an elite businessman, well regarded at his company, but at home he is very self-centered. He has a lot of pride and gets angry quickly whenever I share my opinion, so I try to avoid doing so. In fact, there was a time when I considered divorce, but then I discovered I was pregnant. After much thought, I decided to stay together for the sake of our child. Heath earns a lot, and we bought a new house when we got married. It has a large garden and even a sounder in the bathroom. Our living room is quite spacious, and our house is considered a mansion in our neighborhood. Shortly after finding out I was pregnant, I began experiencing severe morning sickness. I had heard from my doctor that its severity varies from person to person, but mine was particularly bad, making me spend most of my time in the bathroom. As soon as my morning sickness eased a bit, I would quickly go to the supermarket and then rush to the bathroom as soon as I returned home. On really bad days, I couldn't even go shopping and had to rely on delivery services, which would result in lectures from my husband. You need to get it together. You are slacking off with the housework again. What's the point of you staying at home? That day, I was struggling with housework due to severe morning sickness. While I was in the middle of folding laundry, I had to rush to the bathroom. And as soon as I returned, Heath glared at me angrily, and that was what he said. "I'm sorry. Today my morning sickness was particularly bad." I was still preparing dinner right away, but as I headed to the kitchen, Keith stopped me. "Morning sickness is not an illness. Are you just using it as an excuse to avoid housework?" "Fine, I'm going out to eat." He left the house in his suit, carrying his bag. I drank some water and sighed deeply. I know it's not an illness. I don't enjoy having severe morning sickness. I grumbled to myself, but then realized that my words might be heard by my baby. "It's okay because you are with me. Let's be strong together," I spoke to my baby while gently rubbing my barely noticeable belly. Just the presence of this child gives me the strength to endure. No matter how my husband treats me, I will prioritize my baby and overcome the morning sickness. Keith returned home the next morning, took a shower, and left for work without saying a word to me. He still seemed angry, but I started my housework without concern. Today I felt somewhat better compared to yesterday. While I was feeling good, I decided to finish my shopping at the supermarket since I might not feel well the next day. I bought a little more than usual. It was a good idea to buy more, but then I remembered that I shouldn't be carrying heavy things during pregnancy. As I was thinking about making multiple trips to bring the groceries home, someone called out to me, "Gina." I turned around and saw Eileen, his sister. "Eileen, hello." Eileen, unlike my husband, is very kind and has always treated me well. She was happy when she found out about my pregnancy, and I really liked her. "Hello, are you coming back from shopping?" "Yes, I bought a bit too much." Eileen looked surprised at the amount of groceries and offered to help carry them. "No, it's okay. I'll carry them. I need to exercise." "No way. You're not alone in this. It's better not to carry heavy things. I'm strong enough to carry them with ease. Please let me help you." In times like this, it's better not to carry heavy things. I'm strong enough to carry them with ease. Please let me help you. I accepted her help. "Why doesn't Keith go shopping with you on his days off?" I first smiled at her comment. Ideally, that would be great, but Keith never accompanies me for shopping. "Right, I'll do that next time." I didn't want to worry Eileen, so I replied that way, but she seemed to understand and smiled at me. "Call me when you go shopping while Keith is at work. I'll come with you. We live close by, after all. Let me do this much." I was very touched by her words. After carrying the groceries home, we had coffee and chatted for a couple of hours before Eileen left. I realized I had a great time and that my morning sickness felt lighter. My morning sickness isn't as bad today. Actually, I forgot about it while talking with Eileen. I remember hearing that morning sickness is related to hormonal balance, but maybe it's also influenced by my mental state. Later, when I was preparing dinner, Keith came home. "I'm home. You did your work properly today. Welcome back." I'm feeling better today, I kissed, chuckled, and took off his tie. You're just using morning sickness as an excuse to be lazy, aren't you? A colleague's wife managed to do all her duties even while pregnant. I was irritated by his words but refrained from arguing back to avoid making him angry. Like I said before, morning sickness varies from person to person, the doctor said. Some people have it easy, and others, like me, have it severely. Some even get hospitalized because of it. We've talked about this many times before, but I wanted to mention it again. However, it had no effect. That's what I'm saying. Like I said before, pregnancy isn't an illness, so morning sickness is something you can overcome with willpower. You're using pregnancy as an excuse too much. Don't justify your laziness. It seemed useless to say anything. I've given up on being understood by him. Months have passed and my belly has grown bigger. The morning sickness has settled and the baby is growing well. I can feel it kicking and moving around. The baby's energy makes me extremely happy, but at the same time doing household chores and shopping has become more difficult. I decided to try talking to Keith without much hope. Welcome home. Can we talk about something? When I approached Keith as he returned home, he looked a bit annoyed. What? Well, my belly has gotten bigger and recently it's become a bit difficult to do household chores and shopping. What, you want me to do it? No, not exactly. I was wondering if you could help out, even just on your days off. I spoke to Keith, who clearly looked annoyed. I had expected him to refuse, but to my surprise he became furious. What do you think I am? Who do you think you are? I'm working extra because you can't work, you get that? And now you want me to help with housework too? I was shocked that he got so angry just because I asked for help. His shouting continued, always using pregnancy as an excuse. It's your fault you got pregnant, you useless person. His unbelievable words sent chills through me. What did you just say? My fault for getting pregnant? That's right, isn't it? It's a woman who gets pregnant. It just happened because you wanted a child. You don't even get that. Keith left the room, clicking his tongue. His harsh words didn't sink in at first, but as time passed, anger welled up inside me. Realizing he had been thinking this way without my knowledge, I felt foolish for trying to support him. I didn't know where to direct my feelings and started to cry. Just then, the baby kicked in my belly. Feeling the moment as if the baby was comforting me, I started to cry even more while rubbing my belly. I'm sorry. It's not good to have a mother like me. I need to be stronger. I sat in the room alone for a while rubbing my belly. I decided not to expect anything from Keith anymore and regained my resolve to continue with the house chores. As I was preparing to go shopping, my phone rang. Looking at the screen, I saw Eileen's name. Oh, hello, Eileen. Gina, are you going shopping today? I was thinking we could go together. Her invitation came at just the right time, making me smile. I was just about to go. Yes, let's go together. Eileen then picked me up in her car, and we headed to the supermarket together. Your belly has gotten so big. Isn't it hard to move? Are you okay, Gina? Eileen, unlike my husband, cares about my condition. Are they really siblings? Honestly, it's a bit hard. I get out of breath easily. I see, but it means the baby is growing healthy. Hey there, we are waiting for you to be born healthy. Eileen kindly spoke to the baby. In response, the baby kicked my belly. The baby is responding to you. Really? Does the baby know I'm the aunt? We laughed and talked, and before we knew it, we arrived at the supermarket. After shopping, we decided to have coffee at my house again. It seems like we've made a habit of having coffee at your place after shopping. Don't hesitate to tell me if it's too much for you, okay? It's totally fine. It's just hard to keep moving continuously. Eileen looked at me intensely as I smiled. I wondered why when she said, Gina, are you okay? You look tired. I didn't want to worry her and tried to smile. Oh, really? Maybe I overdid the housework. I laughed, but Eileen looked surprised. I realized tears were streaming down my face without knowing, and I quickly wiped them away. Is something wrong? You know you can talk to me." Her kind words broke my restraint and I couldn't stop crying. Eileen patted my back until I calmed down. "I'm sorry. I'm fine now." After a while, Eileen asked again, "You don't have to force yourself to talk if you don't want to. But if there's something you can share, please do." I hesitated but decided to tell her everything about my situation with Keith. As I talked, Eileen's expression changed and by the end, she looked furious. "That guy, maybe I should take care of him." Hearing Eileen's cold voice for the first time, I quickly stopped her. "No, it's okay. Just talking to you about it has made me feel much better. Thank you." Saying it aloud, I truly felt relieved and realized that it's not good to keep things bottled up. It's not okay at all. I will take care of it. Eileen, you will. Eileen's face changed from anger to sadness as she took my hand and said, "Gina, I'm really sorry about my brother. It's not something that can be excused with an apology, but thank you for telling me. How have you been enduring all this? It must have been so hard." Her words brought tears to my eyes again. Her warm hand made me think I should have confided in her sooner. "I can't leave it to the guy. If it's okay with you, Gina, I will support you. Let's put him in his place together." Grateful for Eileen's willingness to go to such lengths for me, I decided to take her up on her offer. One day, Keith came home earlier than usual, unexpectedly. He came back with a calm, kind voice. "I'm home." Being used to his cold attitude, I was surprised but responded, "Welcome back." He smiled slightly and started to talk. "Hey, we both need a break, don't we? How about we go to Hawaii for 4 nights and 6 days before the baby is born, just to clear our minds?" I was incredulous at my husband's suggestion. What had brought on this sudden change? After days of coldness and getting angry over anything I said, I felt more suspicious than happy. What brought this on all of a sudden? I've been thinking maybe I've been too hard on you recently. I've been overwhelmed with work and taking it out on you. Sorry. His remorseful demeanor left me unsettled. Sure, traveling will be difficult once the baby arrives. It was an appealing offer, but something about it didn't sit right with me. What's wrong? Aren't you happy? I thought it would be a nice way to show my appreciation. Seeing me not overjoyed, Heath looked disappointed, thinking this might be an opportunity to rebuild our relationship. I decided to go along with the idea. "All right, let's go on a trip." "Thank you." My acceptance seemed to please him, and he revealed he had already made reservations. The trip was scheduled for next week, a very sudden plan. Next week? Isn't that a bit sudden? I've been planning it for a while. I wanted it to be a surprise. Seeing him talk sheepishly, I reconsidered my cold husband, thinking he might have been considerate in his own way. "I see. Thank you. I'm about to enter my final month of pregnancy next week, so I'm a bit anxious. But if we are going, now is the only time." "Yes, I'm entering my final month next week, so I'd like to stay close to home in case anything happens. But part of me also wants a break. If there are no changes in my condition, I decided to go." "Great, I look forward to it next week." Seeing his happy face after so long made me glad, and I decided to accept his kindness genuinely. Later, Keith, in a good mood, seemed to enjoy the home sounder for the first time in a while and remained cheerful until bedtime. I thought if every day were like this, there would be no need for worries. Then on the day of the trip, we're not forgetting anything, are we? As I was double-checking our travel bag, Heath called out from the bathroom where he had been taking a bath. "Gina, there may be something wrong with the sounder." Heading to the bathroom, wondering why he was using the sounder before our trip, I saw the sounder door open. As I peered into the sounder, I was suddenly pushed from behind. I fell into the sounder, trying to protect my belly as I fell. I ended up landing on my back, hitting it hard. Ouch. Rubbing my back and looking towards the door, it slammed shut, and I saw Keith peering through the small window with a smirk. My blood ran cold as I shouted, "Hey, stop joking. Let me out." But the door wouldn't open, as if something was blocking it. "You really thought I'd take you to Hawaii?" Heath spoke through the small window, still smirking. As if I take someone like you. I can't walk around with someone who's gotten fat and can't even do housework. You're useless. His face had returned to its usual cold expression. Realizing his recent kindness was all an act, I was shocked. Say whatever you want, but let me out. I was on the verge of tears, but first I needed to get out of here. I pleaded, but he didn't seem inclined to open the door. This is what you get for ordering me around. I never ordered you to do anything. You told me to do the housework, didn't you? That's enough of an order for me. Oh, I'm heading out now. Got an important girlfriend waiting for me. Enjoy your fortnight 6-day Hawaii vacation. Hey, wait, stop joking around. Ignoring my screams, Keith left the bathroom. I kept shouting, but eventually I heard the front door close. That sound plunged me into despair. Sweating profusely inside the sounder, no matter how hard I tried, the door wouldn't budge. If I stayed in the sounder, it would surely become life-threatening. As panic and confusion set in, I started to undress to cope with the heat. Then I heard a start. Something had fallen from my clothes. It was my phone. I immediately called Eileen, feeling like I had been saved. Hello, Gina. Huh? I thought you went to Hawaii. Eileen, help me. I urgently pleaded for help. As soon as the call connected, perhaps noticing something was wrong with me, Eileen's voice changed. What's wrong? Where are you? In the home sounder? Yes, Eileen. Feeling relieved to hear Eileen's voice, I told her where I was in there, then lost consciousness. The next thing I knew, I was waking up in the hospital bed with Eileen beside me, holding my hand and crying. Eileen noticed that I had woken up. She started crying even more. Gina, thank goodness you scared me so much, according to Eileen. After I said in the home sounder, I stopped responding, so she rushed to my house. The front door was locked, so I broke the living room window, as she explained, crying. I felt relieved and started crying too. The baby is safe. You did great under such circumstances. Learning that the baby was safe, I cried even more. Then Eileen called a doctor for me. The doctor said that I had mild dehydration but would be fine with the day's hospitalization. Feeling relieved, I thanked the doctor. Soon after, both my parents and in-laws arrived at the hospital. All four were extremely upset, worried about my health, and bombarded me with questions. I decided to tell the 5 of them what had happened. That's unforgivable, Eileen, along with everyone else in the room, was shaking with anger. My in-laws wanted to contact the kids immediately, but I stopped them. I had a plan. I'm sorry for causing everyone so much trouble, but please listen to me. I can't stay silent after this. Will you help me? After hearing my story, everyone agreed to help with the plan. I'll do as you wish, and so the retribution began. I was discharged from the hospital safely and went back to my parents' house for the time being. My house windows were currently being repaired, and Eileen, who had broken the window to save me, was there to witness. There were 4 days left until Kiss returned home. We would execute our plan during this time. After the window was fixed, Eileen contacted me, and I returned home with my parents the next day. Entering the bathroom and seeing the sound reminded me of the incident, sending chills down my spine. But I threw raw fish in the place out of sight in the sounder and placed a humanized it wrapped in clo and in front of the door. Then I left the sounder running and left the house. I went back to my parents' house to rest. 4 days later, the day Kiss was due to return home came. I waited at my parents' house for a certain call in the evening. Eileen called. Ah, Gina, he seems to have come back. I had been waiting for this report. Thank you, Eileen. I'm sorry for making you help with this. I felt guilty for involving Eileen in my marital issues. What are you saying? Let me do at least this much. Eileen's cheerful words eased my guilt a bit. Following Eileen's report, I opened my smartphone. Displayed was a live feed from my house. In the past 4 days, with the help of both families, I had installed multiple pet cameras in the house. The camera showed Kiss entering the house. Let's see what happens next. Kiss looked around the house unnaturally and held his nose. Then, as if remembering something, he rushed to the bathroom. I immediately called Eileen, feeling like I had been saved. "Hello, Gina." "Huh? I thought you went to Hawaii." "Eileen, help me." I urgently pleaded for help. As soon as the call connected, perhaps noticing something was wrong with me, Eileen's voice changed. "What's wrong?" "Where are you?" "In the home sounder." "Yes, Eileen." Feeling relieved to hear Eileen's voice, I told her where I was and there, then lost consciousness. The next thing I knew, I was waking up in the hospital bed with Eileen beside me, holding my hand and crying. Eileen noticed that I had woken up. She started crying even more. "Gina, thank goodness you scared me so much," according to Eileen. After I said "in the home sounder," I stopped responding, so she rushed to my house. The front door was locked, so I broke the living room window, as she explained, crying. I felt relieved and started crying too. "The baby is safe. You did great under such circumstances." Learning that the baby was safe, I cried even more. Then Eileen called a doctor for me. The doctor said that I had mild dehydration but would be fine with the day's hospitalization. Feeling relieved, I thanked the doctor. Soon after, both my parents and in-laws arrived at the hospital. All four were extremely upset, worried about my health, and bombarded me with questions. I decided to tell the five of them what had happened. "That's unforgivable," Eileen, along with everyone else in the room, was shaking with anger. My in-laws wanted to contact the kids immediately, but I stopped them. She was clearly enjoying herself. Watching her, I couldn't help but laugh too. Afterwards, Eileen opened all the windows in the house and disposed of the rotten fish and the door that was in the center. Seriously, the smell was unbearable. I thought I was going to throw up. "I'm sorry, Eileen. I should have cleaned it up myself. No way, I couldn't let you do that." Anyway, he must have thought that do was you, Gina. Thinking about the fact that I would have been trapped in the sounder, I realized I would certainly have lost my life. And Kiss must have known that too. That's why I decided to play along with Kiss's wishes. Later, my in-laws called Kiss, saying, "We heard from Eileen. What's this about? Don't tell me that you did that to Gina." When I told them about the punishment I had in mind for Kiss, I refused for them to help out, saying I couldn't let them deceive their own son. However, my in-laws willingly offered their help, and I gratefully accepted. Kiss was so panicked. We had to make him lie properly. My in-laws seemed a bit excited, much like Eileen's reaction, and I thought to myself how parents and children are alike. According to them, Kiss said, "I don't know, it wasn't my fault." I had turned off my phone to pretend I was still trapped. Eileen and my in-laws had been in touch with me through my parents' phone. There would surely be a missed call from Kiss on my phone. Next, my parents tried contacting Kiss, but he didn't answer. My parents even called his company, but surprisingly, he hadn't shown up for work either. In fact, the company seemed eager to get in touch with him and asked for contacts. This confirmed my belief that he really thought he had caused an incident. Of course, that was indeed the case. Afterward, we lost track of Kiss, and he didn't seem to have returned home. Eileen was looking for him. The reason we wanted to find him was to get him to sign the divorce papers. A few days later, Eileen found Kiss, who, as expected, was with his mistress. She called him and took him to his parents' house. Upon receiving this news, my parents and I had it there too. However, Kiss likely still believed I was dead, so I stayed in the room on the second floor of his parents' house to observe the conversation. I had pet cameras installed at his parents' house, and I watched the situation unfold on my phone to make sure I could hear everything. Eileen kept her phone on call. The moment I turned on the camera, I saw Eileen slapping Kiss. She hit him hard enough that he tumbled and fell. I was surprised at how strong Eileen was. What were you thinking? Where have you been all this time? Do you realize what you did to Gina? Speak up. Kiss remained silent and kneeling, receiving another slap from Eileen. It seemed better not to anger Eileen. My parents watched silently. I just wanted to punish her. Punish. What she did is a crime, you know. What are you saying? But I didn't think it would turn out like this. You thought she'd be fine after being locked in the sounder for 4 nights? That's impossible, right? Anyone would know that's life-threatening. You are the one who should be punished. Hearing his mother's words, Kiss started to panic. What do you mean? You're not going to turn me into the police, are you? I didn't mean any harm. That's nothing but harm. Silenced by his father's rebuke, Kiss fell quiet. Then my parents spoke up. We want to cut ties with you, so please write this. What? A divorce form? My father handed him a divorce form. The goal today was this. But she's already. Just write it. You're not in a position to argue now. Kiss reluctantly filled out the form under my mother's quiet command. But the assets are mine, right? Hearing this, Eileen slapped him again. Even now, all you care about is money? Unbelievable. But she's gone. I have a woman I want to marry, so I need money. The atmosphere tensed at Kiss's statement. In such a charged environment, I was astounded he could even talk about remarriage. I watched the scene on my phone, bemused, hearing aloud sids as I looked away to drink. I quickly returned my gaze to the phone. It seemed like the father-in-law had hit Kiss. We are done with you. Go ahead and remarry, but never come back to this house again. It was the first time I'd seen a father-in-law so angry. It's scary when a usually gentle person gets angry. Why is this happening to me? It's all Gina's fault. She ordered me to do things. Ordered? Gina ordered you to do what? Yes, she said I had to help with the chores because her belly was getting too big. That's ridiculous. My in-laws and I were appalled at his blatant claim, and Eileen yelled back, that's not an order. Even if it was, you should do it. You should have done it without being asked. It's clear you never supported Gina. Why am I the only one being blamed? After the divorce form was filled out and it was clear no further discussion would be productive, I decided to go downstairs. Approaching the conversation area, I saw Eileen and Kiss still arguing. So what if I did? Gina is gone. It doesn't matter anymore. Feel free to go to your mistress if you like, but just so you know, I'll be filing for compensation. Hearing my voice from behind, Kiss suddenly turned around, locking eyes with me. He, upon seeing my face, seemed to lose his strength and collapsed onto the floor. Why are you here? This is a family meeting, isn't it? I have to be here. Kiss looked oddly confused and turned pale. Gina, are you okay with this? Thank you, Eileen, father, mother, and mom and dad. As I thanked everyone, the trembling Kiss started to speak. How? Why? I saw even the sounder. Oh, he thought I was dead. The bravado he had shown earlier seemed to have vanished, making him look as small as a chihuahua. He was so pitiful that I hardly wanted to talk to him anymore. I just did as you wished. It was your plan, wasn't it? What? You were alive because of you. Kiss still seemed bold in front of me saying this. My father shouted at him, enough. What do you think you're doing to my daughter? Kiss, frightened by my father's shout, bit his lip and glared resentfully. Let's go home. We've got the divorce papers signed. As I told my parents, they picked up their things. Thank you, mother, father, and Eileen for today. I thanked my in-laws and left their house. The next day, I received a call from the private detective agency. I had hired them during Kiss's affair trip to gather evidence of his infidelity. Since Kiss thought I was dead, he hadn't returned to work after coming home, but instead fled to his mistress's house, making it easier to collect evidence. Now I was ready to file for compensation. I signed the divorce papers and submitted them to the office. Then I went to a lawyer's office, handed over the evidence collected by the detective agency, and asked them to represent me in claiming child support and compensation. The lawyer agreed that the evidence was sufficient and started working on it immediately. I considered filing a police report for his crime, but out of respect to his family who had helped me, I decided not to. A few days later, the lawyer contacted me saying my ex-husband wanted a meeting to discuss things. I was hesitant, but with the lawyer's agreement, I consented to meet him. Once the meeting was set for the following week and I, heavily pregnant, prepared to face my ex-husband and his mistress, who surprisingly showed up together. I thought the meeting would be quick. As the meeting started, Kiss spoke. "It's too much to ask for compensation when I've lost my job because of you. I won't pay child support either, as I won't be seeing the child. The request for compensation is valid as we have evidence of your infidelity. Child support is not about whether you see the child or not. It's a right the child has, lawyer." I thought she was dead, so I couldn't go to work. Am I not a victim here? Why did you think she was dead? Well, she was in for days. Anyone would think that. Indeed, you knew there was a life-threatening risk, yet you locked Gina in there. Are you aware that you are confessing to a crime? That's not true. I was just punishing her. This isn't just a punishment, it's a crime. And the reason you lost your job is because you ran away, right? How could I go to work under those circumstances? You should have called emergency services and gone to the police. The fact that you couldn't go to work is your own responsibility. That doesn't exempt you from paying compensation. As they argued, Kiss fell silent, unable to retort to the lawyer's points. The mistress, initially smiling beside Kiss, turned pale upon witnessing the lawyer's counter-arguments. What was she even doing here? You say something. You said you'd silence my wife? Hearing Kiss's words, I looked at the mistress, who flinched and looked away when our eyes met. Gina has said she wants to file a police report if you agree to pay compensation and child support. What do you say? Hearing this, Kiss looked up. Really? Is that right, Gina? Yes, but this isn't for Kiss's sake. It's out of consideration for his family. However, if you don't agree to the alimony and child support, I will file a report. Hearing this, Kiss hardly agreed. Subsequently, both parties paid the compensation without issue, and child support payments were confirmed. Kiss, having fled and repeatedly missed work, was fired from his job and struggled to find new employment. Dissatisfied with starting as an ordinary employee, he quickly lost his next job too. His bright aura and lightness seemed hard to shake off, and now he's scraping by with odd jobs and his mistress's income. The mistress, working part-time with the major income, and Kiss are barely making ends meet. It seems the mistress, who was initially after Kiss's income, has apparently lost her patience with him. However, due to Kiss's overbearing nature, she seems to be reluctantly complying with his demands. As for me, the night after the meeting about compensation and child support, I went into labor. I quickly called the hospital and rushed to the maternity ward. On the way, I informed Kiss's family and Eileen. Though we were now divorced and technically strangers, I still wanted to call them since they were looking forward to the baby's birth. Hours later, my healthy baby boy was born. He made loud cries. Both mother and child were healthy, and my parents, in-laws, and Eileen were there to greet us all joyfully. Seeing everyone, I couldn't help but smile. Even after all that had happened, my relationship with Kiss's family continued, and they occasionally visit to see my child. Watching my child grow up surrounded by love, I feel truly blessed in my days.